All right, everyone, I'm back. So we are doing 3.3 today, solving quadratic equations by factoring. And you already know what I'm going to do. I will be sharing my screen and let us get started. Okay, here we go. So we begin by solving a linear equation. And then we will figure out how to solve a quadratic equation. Okay, so let's finish this first. Sort of a review. So how do you solve this one? From Math 9, the idea is to gather everything or gather all of the x's on one side, all of the numbers on the other side. So the x's can be either on the left or the right. It's up to you. But me, force of habit, I would keep the x's where it is already going to be a positive x. Okay, what does it mean? Instead of moving the 4 to the other side, which would make it, or 4x, which would make it negative 4x, I will just keep it there and then move this one to here, all right, to make it positive, okay? So I will add 3x here plus 3x here, and I will add 10 here and 10 here, all right? Okay, that's not too nice, so let's not do that, all right? I'll do that after, okay, because I don't like how it came out to be. All right, okay, so let's just finish this off for now. 7x minus 10 is equal to 4 because these two cancels out, all right? So this is when I'm going to add 10 to both sides. All right, better. 7x is equal to 14. Final step, divide both sides by 7. And of course, x is equal to 2. And I strongly encourage you that when you do this, always do the check part, all right? The check part is when you, or check or verify, which is when you try to figure out whether it actually works, okay? If x is equal to 2, then 4 times 2 minus 10, is that going to be equal to 4 minus 3 times 2? What did I do? In the original equation, I plugged in the value that I found. 8 minus 10, is that going to be equal to 4 minus 6? And of course, negative 2 is equal to negative 2. Left side is equal to the right side. Checks out. Okay. Now, we are going to be solving a quadratic equation this time. What is a quadratic equation? Well, let's put it this way, guys. The original question that we had, which is this one, okay, is linear. What does it mean? Well, a linear equation is when you have a degree of 1. If you remember from Math 9, degree is the highest exponent of the x. The exponent that you have for the x here is a 1. So that's why it's linear. All right. So a quadratic is when you have the highest exponent of x to be a 2. Let's take a look. Quadratic equation, any equation that can be written in this form. Okay. What do you notice? The highest exponent of x is 2. And then you have 3 different constants, a, b, and c. The a is the number in front of the x squared. Sometimes there's a b value, all right? Sometimes there's none, which means if there's a b value, there will be a middle term in this trinomial. But if b is 0, then only the c value would be there, all right? Now, how do you solve a quadratic equation? Well, guys, just like what we did with linear equations, we gather everything to one side and make it equal, um, like the variables to one side and then the numbers on the other side. While for quadratic equations, what you have to do is you will have to gather everything on one side and make it equal to 0. That's the sort of difference. Okay, look at this. This zero product property allows you to solve a quadratic equation um, by making a quadratic expression equal to 0 and then factoring, and then each one of the factors will be made equal to 0. So for example, if you have these two binomial factors of a quadratic expression. If you make it equal to zero, so what it means is that if you multiply these two and they would be equal to zero, therefore either the first binomial is equal to zero, as you can see here, or the second binomial is equal to zero, or both. And that's what the zero product property is all about. Okay, so let's take a look at how you can use this. Solve the equation, then verify the solution. So x squared plus x minus 56. So by now, guys, I hope you already saw the have the idea that okay, so if you are factoring simple expressions like this, wherein there is no number in front of the x squared, you will end up with x and x here, and then two numbers that multiply to 56 or negative 56 and 1 away from each other. So that would be 8 and 7. All right. But then one is positive, one is negative. That means to have a sum of a positive number, positive 1, that means the 8 has to be a bigger number. So quickly check x times x squared, x times 8, 8x, negative 7 times x, negative 7x. So the sum is positive x. Negative 7 times 8 is negative 56. All right. And there is your equal to 0 as we solve it. According to the zero product property rule, we can split up these two binomials such that we will be making each one of them equal to 0. So what we're going to do is x minus 7 is equal to 0. All right. And x plus 8 is equal to 0. Therefore, x equals 7 and x equals negative 8. Okay. There are your answers. In the interest of time, I'm not going to do the check part. You please do that yourself. All right. Next one, we do this. Now, if you're thinking, wait a minute, that is not equal to 0. And this is a factored form already. Now, what I have seen other kids do is this. Okay. I'm starting off with something that I see or I have seen before, and this is definitely incorrect. This is what kids would do. Since they saw the previous example wherein the factored form was split into two parts and then each one of them was made into 0, what I would see kids do would be these two, all right? So the 3x plus 1 and the x minus 6 are split up and then they would be made equal to not 0, but then that 22 would be split up into two parts, 11 and 11. Okay. Now, if in case you would do this in any equation and then it works, that is more of a coincidence. That has no meaning whatsoever. All right. So please don't do that. So if you're thinking, all right, so what are we supposed to do? This is what should be done. First, see if you can expand these two. All right. Meaning, see what you can do as an expanded form. So do the FOIL. That would be 3x squared minus 18x plus x minus 6 equals 22. All right. Let's gather everything to the left side, make it equal to 0, while at the same time collecting like terms. 3x squared is by itself. Negative 18x plus x is negative 17x. 22 goes to the left side, so as it goes this way, it becomes negative. All right. That would be minus 28 is equal to 0. All right. Now, if you factor this, you probably would end up with decomposition. I would leave that for you to do. But me, I already can see that, wait a minute, if I factor this trinomial into two binomials, the only way for me to have a 3x squared at the beginning when I FOIL would be to have a 3x here and an x here. There's no other way, right? Now, what else should I do? What two numbers would multiply to negative 28? And then when I do the FOIL, I would have negative 17x in the middle. But that would be minus 7 here plus 4. Now, if you're thinking, how do I know that? Well, like I said, do the decomposition, and this is what you're going to end up with. All right. What's the next step? Both of these binomials would be made equal to 0. You're going to split them up, and then you're going to solve for x. In this case, 3x is equal to negative 4, and x is equal to negative 4 thirds, while this one here, x equals 7. All right? So there are your two um, check your understanding questions, and I hope that made sense. Um, Try the practice question. Bye for now.